yeah, I still saw some good things on KD defensively. And obviously, that's a lot easier to do when you
Mhm.
don't have Bradley Beal and Devin Booker out there. And I know we haven't seen Bradley Beal yet, and it doesn't seem like he's going to be playing tomorrow, but still, Devin Booker adds a completely different dynamic.
Yeah, if you want to jump into tomorrow's
Let's
game, Jude,
go.
let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to predict bold prediction here. Um, bold prediction,
Giant prediction from Ethan coming.
scalding hot take, if you will. A Spurs loss tomorrow night in Phoenix.
Yeah, I just hope that we can see some of the good things continue, and we just don't see what we saw on Sunday. We don't revert back to Sunday with Devin Booker in the game. That I think is the key for me early in the season in this kind of game to game development before we get to Christmas and really
Mhm.
have some overall takeaways from about 20 games or so of this team.
I'm going to expect, despite the loss, though, I'm going to expect a way better game from Wemby in the
Okay.
first half. I think what he said post game really it gives me high hopes for him moving forward because he was very self-aware of the fact that he's rushing a lot of shots. He's not taking his time. He's not getting to his spots. He's not being patient right now in that first half. He's trying
Yeah.
to rush too much and it's forcing up bad shots and bad misses. So I'm hoping that will correlate to how he performs tomorrow night and gets off to a better start because he's been phenomenal in the fourth quarter. Probably the best
Yes.
player in the league in the fourth quarter. But those first three quarters is where it's been a little difficult for him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up because, of course, Chuck and Shaq are like, "Hey, like what's going on, bro?" I mean, they just basically shot him straight. Like, we
Yeah.
saw a little bit of passivity, and he was just completely honest like, "Hey man, I'm still figuring everything out. I'm
Mhm.
still kind of figuring the United States out." I
Yep.
mean, like they even talked about that. Obviously there was the churro bit, which he did say, if y'all did not see, he said in the post-game presser, he's like, "I know what a churro is. French is my first language, so I forgot the word."
Mm.
So Wemby does know what churros are. Everybody calm down. He loves
Oh,
the breakfast tacos. He loves the churros.
thank God.
Yeah, I know, right? That
He
was the
remembers
biggest.
the Alamo.
He remembers. Yeah, he never forgets.
Never forgets.
He never forgets, especially after going there. Um, but seriously, getting back to Victor, I would hope to see that as well too. And what he said in that post game, he was just very honest and raw. And some people might be like, "Oh, you need more for that because of what I watched on ESPN all summer." But like,
Mhm.
it, when I hear him talk, I mean, even the TNT guys were like, "Okay, we get it a little bit more."
Yeah. The only thing that I will like the TNT guys are notoriously like if for someone they've
Of
never
course,
seen before, they could a little bit broad of statements and maybe not the greatest of takes, but I do think what
Bobo.
they said, yeah, Bobo. What they said about Wemby in the first half getting to his spots was very accurate.
Yeah,
As far as like he'll get in the lane and let himself get pushed out. I know he's a perimeter player. I know he's not trying to be Tim Duncan or David Robinson,
you
but there are
can't let
times,
Eric Gordon push you
yes,
out of the paint.
if Nurkic is guarding you, okay. Even Kevin Durant a little bit, okay. But a Kogi, Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon, no. These guys are way too small. You have to get low and try and get some easy baskets inside. But that's not also completely his fault. The rest of the team needs to be throwing it up to him
Yes.
way quicker, way faster. That's
Yeah.
that change has not caught on yet for the rest of the team. Trey Jones is still the only one that consistently does it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going to have to impose himself more, but I
Yep.
think that this is going to sound like a really dumb point, Ethan, but hear me out. The fact that you're playing in the same place 2 games in a row, I think is going to, even though it's a road trip,
Yeah.
it's like it gives him it's hard to explain, but I think you already kind of
There's
get
a
what I'm saying.
comfortability there now.
Like, yes, like, okay, I saw what I did wrong in my last game. Now let me try to go fix it. And it's unique because usually in a back to back, you're literally back to back days. But in this one, this is like one of the weird times. Like, speaking of NBA on TNT, last night they were like, that doesn't usually happen. Like, all
Mhm.
the like Kenny was like, oh yeah, it happened for some time. And then all the other dudes who actually played were like, what the heck? Like, that's kind of weird. So I'm
Kenny
sure it,
played. Kenny
yeah. Oh,
played.
Kenny played. My bad.
Who
Not
actually
Kenny.
played?
Not Kenny. I said
Ernie?
Kenny. Yes, my bad. I meant Ernie. My
Kenny,
bad.
who actually
I
played?
yes, Kenny the Jet Smith who played for the Rockets. My bad. Misspoke there. I meant Ernie. That's
Two-time
who.
champ. Back to
Right.
back
Yeah.
champ. Yeah.
Yeah. Legend. Let me stop. I seriously like I said Kenny, but I meant Ernie there. Anyways, um, the point is that doesn't happen that often, and I
Yeah.
think that because of that, it's like he's just going to be able to like really recognize I'm in the same place. Like, let me better what I did the last game. Now, there's going to be a lot of new challenges just because you add Devin Booker, and so
Hmm.
we'll see how it plays out. But I do expect him to come out a little more comfortable and a little bit more aggressive. Is what I would say.
I have a question for you, Jude.
Shoot.
And we saw him do it a couple times, but he was not the primary defender. What is your opinion on Victor Wembanyama starting the game defending Kevin Durant?
Well, he was playing the four last night,
Mhm,
so I think that's why he was there. Um, Yeah, I don't I guess I'm not really against it. I guess the only thing I would say is it doesn't really surprise me that he got awestruck a little bit. You could definitely tell that that happened and he got
mhm,
beat a couple times. Um, I mean, you saw them put Sohan and Keldon on him later.
mhm.
Um, but I guess I'm just because of where we're at right now, I'm just not like really that upset at stuff like that. Like I can kind of see how people like would I can kind of see what you're hinting at when you're asking the question, but I'm just not like it doesn't surprise me he got beat, and when you put him in that scenario, he's going to get beat. But it's
Mm.
just like I want him to go through those moments this season.
I agree with your statement there, and I wasn't. I was actually asking because our avid listener and one of my friends, Tanner
Ooh,
Robertson,
okay,
he thinks he should get more opportunities to defend Kevin Durant. Um, he just like to see that matchup. He thinks it's an advantageous matchup for us more so than it is for them in some situations because KD can so easily rise up and shoot over
yeah,
Keldon Johnson and even Jeremy, where Wemby not so much. Maybe he gets past him, gets to the rim for a contested layup, but he'd rather have that than wide open jumpers.
yeah, yeah. I definitely see what he's saying right there for sure.
Hmm.
Um, I guess what I would say is he did still get him a couple times last night.
Yeah, he
Now,
did. It was a
obviously, I
tough
think
shot though. It
I
was a
don't know.
tough shot.
Very and granted, I say that like he's not one of the best scorers ever, and
Yeah,
those were insane moves, beating out a dude with an 8 foot wingspan. Like
yeah,
those are like legendary step backs. Like let me give him a little bit of respect. Um,
yeah,
like that contest on the one he made over Wemby, like that contest. I don't know if you saw the picture. You can see like
yeah.
his whole body. Like that's just crazy. I totally get what he's saying there. Um, yeah, I mean, he will get beat against him, but yeah, I'm not mad at that. But I'm not really super mad at Jeremy or Keldon guarding him either,
Mhm.
especially how we kind of talked about earlier. Like we
Yeah.
saw some good things from them on him too. But I also, I mean, when you're just talking about length and the way that KD really does get most of his buckets shooting over people, um, I completely see Tanner's point. Probably the reason he didn't do it as much was because I think some of that just works out with the rotations, like when Wembanyama sat and when KD was on the floor.
Mm.
But also, I think they probably were trying to protect him a little bit from getting schooled a little bit by his favorite player or
It's,
one of his favorite players. Everybody was
yeah,
saying that, but it's like it's really him and Giannis is
Giannis. Yeah.
that comment.
It's also probably fair to say they're still a little nervous about his foul trouble tendencies. And if you're guarding Kevin Durant, foul trouble is probably going to go up.
That's a
So,
very good point. That's a very good point. I know we already predicted, like we already said, we probably think the Spurs are going to lose tomorrow. But
mhm,
what are some keys to the game? Maybe not keys to victory,
mhm,
as we just said, but some
yeah.
keys to the game. I guess really, to be honest with you, it probably starts with who's going to be guarding Devin Booker. Excuse me. Um, and he's been playing the point guard for them. Since we haven't seen Bradley Beal yet. So it seems like that would be Sohan,
Mm.
if everything stays lineup wise, which I think it is. That's another thing I want to talk to you about after this conversation. But first, we can talk about that with Devin Booker and how we defend him tomorrow if we do it all.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Do we know who's starting next to Devin? Will it be Grayson Allen or Eric Gordon?
We do not know yet.
Because personally, I love the Devin on Devin matchup. I think that might be our best chance at defending Devin Booker because Devin can match up with him athletically and quickness wise, and is basically the same size. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and then we can utilize Jeremy as him and Keldon to kind of go at Kevin Durant since they don't have Bradley
I
Beal.
like that.
Um, that would be my preference. I understand if they want Jeremy to guard Devin Booker, but it honestly scares me a little bit
I agree.
because I think despite Jeremy's physical advantages, he's at a complete disadvantage, skill and quickness wise.
That I'm glad you mentioned quickness because as much as we lauded Jeremy as a defender last season, the one thing I have seen this year, and it's because he's guarding point guards now and not
Hmm.
fours. I have seen him, especially with the quick guys, get beat off the dribble a little bit.
Hmm.
And that doesn't mean he can't recover, and he's still not, like we mentioned, there were times in the post up where he was able to make KD pass out or make him miss a shot, but that's different than guarding Devin Booker off the dribble. So I completely agree with you there, but I do think just because of the fact that D Book is kind of there, um, what am I? I'm looking for an adjective here, Ethan. They're
Hothead.
fake point guard. That's what I'm gonna say.
Oh,
I say fake point guard because I mean they're pseudo point guard, kind of like Jeremy. Like it's not traditional responsibilities, but because Brad Beal's out,
hmm.
there he had a lot of early in the season. I saw a lot of passing highlights, and I believe that he had some pretty good assist games as well to start the year. Um, but he was definitely bringing the ball up the floor. That leads me to believe that Jeremy's probably going to be guarding him, which I totally get your fears there. Um, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Maybe it will be Devin. I think they'll definitely switch too. Like
Yeah, for sure.
I think at least we're going to see, even if Jeremy is guarding him the majority of the time, we're going to see some possessions where Devin's on him a lot, and probably Keldon too.
Agreed. Agreed.
So I think probably just because that's going to be the biggest difference in the game, that's probably what I'll be paying attention to the most. There will probably be some tough stuff that we see, but hopefully we can see some positives tomorrow night.
Yeah, the biggest problem is going to be now they have an additional shooter on the court. And we saw what they did when they
Frig, man.
spaced out like they had four out with
Dude,
Nurkic down low, and it was literally impossible for us to defend it because we're just not quick enough to rotate, and nobody really is because they're so great at spacing.
laser Grayson Allen, man. I was like, what is
Five,
happening? Dude, when
five
he
threes.
pulled up from like Steph range, I
Oh,
know it was wide open. And like he is a capable shooter. He's a good shooter. That's his role. But I was just like, man,
mm,
that was the point of the game where it was like, that's why this win was so good.
mm-hmm.
Um, because you had moments where Grayson Allen was lasering you and you just felt like we're going to be 22-60 again. I know it's super early, but that was
Yeah.
the vibe, I'm sure, of so many people watching that game.
I don't think they'll do this because they would leave a significant scoring void off the bench, but they could also put Devin in for a Kogi, and
Yeah.
they literally have four snipers and Nurkic.
Yeah, who was sniping at the end of the game.
Yeah, 2 for 5, yeah.
Oh my gosh.